everyone, this is Christina, and I'm here today to show you a holiday project that you can do with egg cartons and glue. This is like a basic paper mache mash that you can make, and it's got a lot of uses, which is pretty great. What I did was I shredded an egg carton into small pieces. I boiled water, and then I poured that water over the pieces into a glass bowl. And I just kind of let that sit until it cooled off. And then I was able to just kind of work through this. Even with the water in it, I was kind of squeezing it around, crumbling it in my fingers. And then what you do want to do is you can get like a strainer like this. And you can really wring it out, squeeze it out like a wet sponge, get all that extra water out, and you've got this lovely mash. So one thing that I was thinking as I was doing this, and I did not do this with the pieces that I made today, and you'll see what I mean. You could actually make this much finer, this pulp, if you wanted to. I would do like 1 part pulp to 2 parts water or something like that in a blender, and then you could really just kind of break this up into a really fine mash. And then this mesh strainer would come in real handy because you could just swipe through and really just kind of squeeze it out. You want to make sure this is very wrung out before you start adding other things. But if you wanted to do something finer, like let's say if you built something out of cardboard, like something like this, and this is super basic, you could actually apply the mash to it like paper mache, and then let it dry and paint it. I was also thinking it would be great to do like a cardboard gingerbread house, and then you could apply the paper mache to it, and then it could be something that you could keep for longer. So back to this little recipe here. You would break this down into the pulp that you want, whatever fineness you want, chunky or fine, and then you can use some white glue. I would recommend for 1 egg carton, a dozen size egg carton, I would do like a 1/2 cup to 2/3 of white glue, and then you're really just going to mix through, get it all in there, all incorporated. This will all come together into like almost like a clay that you can, or like a Play-Doh that you can then start working in your hands. I went with the basic meatball method. I made a lot of little balls. I also flattened pieces while I was doing this, and just kind of made little pancakes. You can work with it, roll it out real thin. You can even do some little cookie cutter shapes if you wanted to. But what I do recommend is getting yourself a cookie sheet, lining it with parchment paper, or probably even better to do tin foil, and then you can put that in the oven at like 250, and it's going to take a while. You might need to flip pieces over or roll beads around, things like that, but you should be able to kind of dry it out evenly and quicker if you do it that way. The other thing that you could do is you could just flatten this out maybe to like 1/4 inch or a little less thickness on, just straight out onto the cookie sheet and dry it that way. And then you could go in with some big shears and cut shapes that you want. So you've got a lot of options with what you can do with this, which is really great, because you can get very creative. You could just make, some paper, basically. If you wanted to, you could go real thin with it, put it in the oven and dry it out, and make cards with it. You could, or collage with it, or whatever. So that's your basic recipe, which is great, super easy. What I used for supplies while making my ornaments, I used, things I have around the house. I've got my hot glue gun, my trusty hot glue gun. I have these sandpaper sponges, which are great, and I'll show you how I use those in a little bit. Cookie cutters, as I said, your strainer. I've got acrylic paints, paintbrushes, some large sewing needles, skewers, or an awl, or I have these big upholstery needles I love, or maybe just a really thin knitting needle even, so that you can do holes in all of your beads if you were to roll out beads. These also come in handy if you want to paint stuff. So if you're going to do a ball ornament, you can stick this on there and just kind of paint it while it's like in a lollipop. I've got wooden beads, I've got wooden buttons, I have hemp string, which is great because it's stiff enough to be able to string into some of these ornaments. And then I've got paper. I didn't put everything out that I made first because I just wanted to give you the scope of what you need. Of course, you need some scissors. But here you go. Let me show you some things. You've waited long enough. So, this is a rolled out ball that I just flattened. I asked my son how he wanted me to decorate it. He wanted Santa colors. So it's just like a basic keepsake that you can make. It's, you know, nothing too crazy, but you can see how the texture stays on there too. It's got sort of an interesting texture. And that's with that thicker, chunkier mash. Like I said, if you put it in a blender, you could probably get it much smoother, have it dry flatter. I also used the sandpaper sponges to kind of just smooth it out a little bit, especially on this side where I stuck on the picture. And then I was thinking it would be great to just do a garland, like a simple garland. And this is just a smaller version of what you could do. With one egg carton, you could make tons of these little balls. Then I just used wooden beads and I painted them the color that I wanted them to be. And I just strung them with some hemp string. It looks really nice. And you can use it and, you know, or give it as a gift. It's kind of a neat little thing. Who doesn't love garland, you know? So there's that. I'll put that right there. I have a couple other ones. Whoa! This is a little snowman. What I did with these, I really got into making snowballs, basically. I made a ton. But what you can do is you know, have these balls, you paint them blue, and then you do a layer of white, and while the white is drying up, still a little tacky, you can either take a wet cloth and sort of wipe these all down to get like a little bit of that blue showing through, or you could let it dry and get the sandpaper out and just roll them around on the sandpaper a little bit. But that's just acrylic paint, string, and a little scrap of cloth. Cute little guy. I'm on the lookout for little twigs for arms and just hot glue those in there. I might use my awl to poke holes, put a little glue in there, and then stick my sticks in there. That's how I do that. There's that guy. And then I did a larger ball just to see what would happen. And it made a really great ornament. So this is a ball. I made a hole through the whole thing. And after I baked all of these, I did have to go through and sort of remake my holes, but it wasn't a problem. If you already have them in there, it's easy to go back through again. So I used hot glue beading around here to make a little bit more of a ridge. And then I painted that with I have like an iridescent acrylic. So I made that for the snow. And just have this simple landscape of trees around here, and then use my string and a little bell to make an ornament. Very nice. And last but not least, this is a great use of a shape too. If you use your cookie cutters, you can get a nice flat piece that's a nice solid chunk. This is actually something I formed into a plastic lid that I had around the house just to see what would happen. So with this one, I painted it blue. Then I put a layer of white over. Once the white was tacky, I swiped it with a wet cloth to get a little bit of that blue, and then I painted it all over with that iridescent paint. So you can just see a little bit of blue. I really like the effect on this. It looks like a snowball. I love it. This paper is made with cardstock that I painted green. Then I cut out my holly pieces. And then I painted some wooden beads red. And of course this is made with scrap paper, so there we go. see if we can fit everybody here. Whoa! There we go. Get a good look at them all. So that's that. That's what I've done. I really do think that it would be great to try it again and do a finer mash and kind of start coating some 3D pieces and see what we can do with that. That would be great. That'd be a funner project, especially with older kids, or if you're really just feeling like you want to go all in and make a gingerbread house or something like that. I think that would be a fun thing to try. And that's really what we've got. There's lots of possibilities. Again, you could just do a flat sheet and create your own paper. If you wanted to add color to that, you could add tissue paper. You could add some of the acrylic paint to the mash and just kind of work that in there. You could use food coloring, anything like that. Just play with it. And then you can bake it and you'd have a sheet of paper that you could use as art paper as well. So lots of possibilities. I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Thanks.